I do. Okay. Good morning. I'm Susan Cousineau. This is the office hour for Oregon State University PDC Pro Winter 2024. This is Zoom number 9, and the next lesson due is lesson 9, Building Survey Zone 1, designed on May 20, and it's due on Monday, May 20th, 2024. That's next Monday. All right, we've got Linda here. I'm just going to admit her. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Linda. How are you? Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Zoom has a whole new interface. They've upgraded, I guess. So.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. They haven't allowed me to upgrade it. They keep telling me I need to contact my IT admin, and I'm like, that would be me. So how are you doing?
I'm good. That quick trip driving to Boston and back was like kind of crazy, but so feeling rushing, trying to take care of all my projects. I have too many properties I'm overseeing the landscaping for.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's like, but once getting started tomorrow with the install, I don't know. There was a lot, and then trying to get my garden in is just it's delayed. So, but I did get the assignment turned in, the rest of it.
I saw that. That's
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll get to marking right after this today. So
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to not get behind with this. So we're going. So we have till the semester goes till the 1st of July. Is that what I saw?
No, it runs. So your course. Let me see. I need a different.
Yeah, I was trying to figure. I was hoping to be done by June. We have a.
Yeah, it will be in June. So your. Oh, hold on just a second. Alexa, stop. That's embarrassing. Started myself a new pot of tea with not enough time on the clock to stop it before the recording started.
I can take time and do that if you want.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, not on the recording. That's fine. So technically, yeah, your course runs till June 16th.
Okay.
And so I always just have to double check the calendar because sometimes, with the break, sometimes breaks make that a little. So your last lesson. Oh, stop. Come on. What did I just say? It embarrasses me sometimes that these things are recorded because I'm like, don't record me doing this. Yeah, so the 16th is a Sunday. So it's not showing oh, here we go. This is why. I don't need this calendar. I don't need this calendar.
And there's a webinar that I just saw that's on the 6th. I've been working for 5 years to get all my kids and grandkids to go to Mexico with me. So we're going to be in Mexico that week.
Oh, good.
So I will, but I want to be able to access it. Will it be recorded so I can listen to? Okay.
Yeah, all those things are recorded. So, yeah. So your last lesson is due June 3rd.
Okay. Well, that's the day I leave. So that's what I'm shooting for, is to be all done before this vacation.
Oh, and when is your vacation?
The 3rd to the 8th. So that week.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. So, all throughout the course, I'm pretty flexible on deadlines, and, when you hand it in is good, and, catch up. June 3rd is really like that last assignment is the one where I really like get it in that Monday, because if I don't get it marked that week, then it flows into the next week. You don't get feedback. It goes back to admin. Like with all the grading and everything. So June 3rd, 9 a.m. is really like,
okay,
everybody that can get it in is everybody benefits. Yeah, if they're submitted. So, and of course you're free to submit it ahead of time if you want to. You can
Okay.
always submit ahead if you're there. But June 3rd is really the submission date for lesson 10, and then you're done.
All right, because there was something that came up and I was trying to find on the calendar yesterday and it said, oh, it's end of semester, July something. And it's like, oh, that's weird. I thought it was June. So I'm not sure what I was looking at, but it was.
Oh, that might be true for OSU as a whole.
Oh, okay.
But the course runs on a slightly different schedule.
Okay.
So.
All right. That's good. Good follow up for that. I will keep pushing.
Okay.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
close. I'm
Great.
close, right? It's
Mhm.
only a couple more assignments. And this last one really took a lot. The plant matrix, plant system, I know is really key, but gosh, when I do landscape designs, that's where I tell them that's why it costs what it costs, because it just,
If
and
you do
I
it well,
yeah, I'm not there yet with this, but I divided it up into two parts because of they're two different sections that required a different look. So it's
Mhm.
just like, oh my gosh, I took myself into double time here.
Oh, well, the results will show for it. Yeah, the next one, lesson 9. So I'm just gonna do to make sure I can do a screen share. There we go. Oh, they've actually made it slightly easier to use. Well, thank you, Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
How come I'm
How
still?
come I'm still? Oh, could you hear me?
I couldn't hear you and it just showed me and
That's
then
very
the background.
okay. So I tried to do a screen share like I normally do, and it wouldn't allow me to. Host only. So I apologize for everyone watching the replay. This is not usually as janky. I just got off a Zoom call at like 10 after 10. It was someone else's Zoom though, so I had not expected. Let's see, what's our, yeah. No. What it's telling me is that when I share the screen, even if I select share system audio, it's not allowing, let me see. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you and I see the screen.
Okay. I just had to make a different choice. That's interesting. I had to share the tab instead of the whole screen, but it wouldn't allow me to share my mic. It was strange.
Oh.
It was grayed out. It was not, and it gave me a little warning that your mic audio is muted. Okay, well, fine then. So the building survey is really pretty straightforward. It's essentially just looking at your, what indigenous people used in their, to construct homes in your region. Most people come to the conclusion that like, oh, that's nice. That looks really cool. Would be fun. Not really any, let's say relevance is maybe the closest word, but not really any applicability to modern situations, which is unfortunately generally true. But that should be fairly quick and straightforward. And then the zone 1 design you may well find is kind of like, so the last 3 assignments are the doozies in terms of like, this is where you're doing all your design, you're bringing all that stuff together. So you may find that this is kind of like the last one with the plant system design, where you're taking more time to layer all those pieces in. So here's just your base map with the zone 1 highlighted. So this one should be pretty straightforward. Just take it from your zone diagram that you did earlier. I think that's lesson 7. Let's go back.
So I have a question about, because my zone 1 really almost didn't exist because it was like somebody else's property. But with my change, I've done away with the chicken pasture right by the house. I've moved it to the side to another part. And so that whole area now I'm extending it to be zone 1 for the people who live on the property. So I guess I would put it, I was thinking I would design this zone 1 with my new plan then for that whole area behind the house that I'm calling.
Yeah, I would go with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, often people are using kind of the same area, but if you're radically changing it, I would just go ahead with what you're actually designing as your new zone 1.
Okay.
Yeah, that might save you a little bit of time too. Straightforward, I think, just some zone 1 images. This is going to be existing conditions, so this is where you could include the existing base map or like the images of what it's like right now to highlight how you're planning to change that going forward. And then this is the same kind of existing conditions. So take the same area, but show, I mean, if it's just chicken pasture, then that's what you're showing. That's what that, like you're taking the zone boundary from what you're planning, but showing what's inside that right now and then how you're going to change that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So not the exit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, existing conditions, and then what patterns you're noticing, what kind of strategies you're going to use to go forward. So strategies might be like an emphasis on rainwater capture, soil building, native species for pollinator, however that lays out. This is going to be your grayscale zone 1 design, labeling your patterns. There's not I don't see any surprises that come up with this, with really these last 2 assignments, which is nice. I think these are they're really well detailed out. They seem to be pretty straightforward. It's just your water management plan. This is where you're including all those elements. If you're putting in, like, say, benches or a berm, a planting berm, or a certain pollinator area, that's where this is all going to come in. More images, more new things, more, same thing. Yeah. So just this is going to be more of your plans to focus on what the buildings and energy systems are going to be like for that area. And then just a SWOT analysis. So I think that, I mean, this one is really heavy on the design aspects. In the next one, so in the final assignment, you're going to be doing looking what your network looks like. So other designers and farms and illustrators that you can connect with. That should be pretty quick and straightforward. It's basically just grabbing your inspiring examples. Instructors and education companies, same. So SWOT analysis here might be like, some of the weaknesses is that you have to drive a long distance to get to them. Threats could be that a lot of them, there's been a lot of farms going out of business or really struggling. Or another threat might be that there's, like, if you're up in Northern California, for instance, there's a lot of permaculture designers in a very, very small area because there's a number of PDCs there, or have in the past, like, a lot of in person. So there tends to be a lot of permaculture designers kind of located in some of those really nice, lusher areas. So that could be a threat if there's, like, kind of you feel like there's a lot of competition for the work that you want to do. Some strengths could be, good networking opportunities, things like that. So, okay, and then so the concept plan is lesson 10, of course, and so this is another, like, pretty design heavy assignment. So I think these last 2 will probably be comparable, Linda, to what you were just finding with the plant design one. But I think the building survey and the network survey of these 2 lessons is going to be less onerous, I hope. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, everybody has their hurdles with different parts, but I think that these tend to be, like, more straightforward, less detailed than the plant and ecological surveys do, and generally less of an intuitive lift, I guess, or an intellectual lift.
What I found with how I've been designing, so it was hard to break out of this, was that I had a hard time. Typically I'll do the plants, but I won't choose the plants. I'll kind of size the plants and make the design, and then I come in and add the plants. But this time I saw the value of really figuring out the plant system because that's so critical in this permaculture context, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but then the part that was really hard was not bringing in all the other elements of design into like the path and the pool and the, just all the things that, and so I
Right.
kind of think I have most of the design kind of, except for some of the very kind of, some of the elements I didn't include in this one, but it, so I feel like it got me to like almost the end in that plant system design because of how, but so when you look at it, yeah, that would be helpful to see if there's some things that
Do you
I,
want, okay.
do you
Do you
have
want me
time?
to pull that up right now?
If that's
Sure.
okay, I don't know if
Yeah, absolutely.
other people can drop off if they're watching.
I mean, it's an office hour. If if I was in person, you could come by with your report or your
Okay.
yeah, whatever. Um,
And some of the things, my weaknesses that I put in there is just not having enough knowledge of how to create the pond. I'm needing to do more research on that. And then also the irrigation components of how to, trying to really figure that out. So I know that's a key part of it. And it's just my lack of knowledge of how those work. So I'm trying to do a lot of research and looking.
so is that like when you're talking about doing research, is that in regard to like say natural pool design or more like landscaping around
Just
what?
how to build the pond so that it can tie into the, just the logistics of building it. It's like,
Hmm,
so I understand how it would, yeah, I put an overflow from it into like a garden area that I drew a space for. And then, but also the irrigation is going to change on this, on the food forest. And so trying to find the best system for that. So I
okay.
had three different goals that I did there because um where the chickens were is the nature plant garden and the playscape. So the playscape, I don't know, that might be, is that something you're familiar with, what a playscape is?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a great idea. I want to come visit. Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and that's a wonderful integration with the living area to have that, it's fairly close to the house, but it's like it's not right on the patio, because like, and I mean, we do, and like kids like to have like a little bit of space to go wild. So I think that's wonderful. I love this layout.
So,
Um,
because that's where it was so much the whole time is like, how do I get these kids to be outside? Because he had fences where the chickens were. And when I tried to get around to do my elevations, I couldn't get into some of the spots because it's all blocked. And so
mhm,
that was why it's like, that has to go away. And these
sure.
kids need to have a space where they've got the stumps that, like, so not, you could have tree things that they could climb, just get into nature and explore, and a pond and little frogs. And I don't know, just the whole exploration, playscape, naturescape, exploration area, that right in the backyard.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds wonderful. So then for your zone one design for going forward, would you just because intuitively I would probably stick the native plant garden and playscape into zone one
Yeah,
and then the
that's what
food
I was,
court. Okay. All right.
that's what I was going to focus on. Because I just, if you go to the next slide, it shows kind of just that area
Oh, I
of
see.
the
Okay. Yeah. Meditation
one.
area,
Yeah.
vegetables. Nice.
And then the
Great.
right side is the playscape. So kind of mapped it out. And then, so that's what I would draw those elements in, I guess, on the set, on
Oh,
this.
I see. Okay. So there's your pond and then your drainage kind of across as well. Yeah, that seems cool. I mean, it gives you an opportunity to have like a little bridge, right?
Yeah.
Is that what that is there?
Yeah, that's a bridge.
Okay.
They
That's
have the
fun.
canal that's already accessing the irrigation, and they have a small
Okay.
area. I kind of wanted to enlarge it or bring access to a pond area, dig out a pond. I don't know how to do that, but I guess, um, I mean, I can look into resources to find that, but then have the overflow go to like a garden. They don't have a herb or annual vegetable garden at all on this property besides what their pumpkin patch. And so the family, I thought, if this could, the daughter who lives there, when I questioned her, she's like, yeah, it would be really nice to be able to have some place, but there wasn't any place, right? It was ads and it was all pumpkin, right? So this whole area, this whole back area becomes more of a living area for her family. Plus, I mean, the dad and all the other cousins and everybody that comes to the garden, it will just be hopefully a very inviting, just big area that they can just enjoy, you know.
Yeah, it seems. And I like the proximity of like the vegetable garden to the playscape. You know, that a lot like really kind of integrates the kids, not necessarily like into the growing area unless they want to, but like keeping that proximity is nice. I just wanted to go back to your soil tests. Okay, so your loam, sandy loam. Okay, so the reason I wanted to see your soil test was in terms of digging the pond. Like you don't have the clay base to reasonably try to do like even a natural pond. Like so, you really want to look at getting a liner of some kind. But I'm sure there's some sort of like natural pond company in your area that could help. There's lots of good resources if you want that. I did put together some resources for another student on it's a sustainable wetland book that I really like.
Okay.
And that may help.
Yeah.
There's lots of natural pond, natural pool.
Okay.
But that's not really what you're planning so much when you're thinking about a pond.
No, it's just an overflow, kind of to invite some of the little critters that, you know, would be fun to have to watch, or some little fish, something that, and also because that could help give nutrients to the garden too, if the water's coming, you know, into the garden from there.
Yeah.
That might help. And it just adds to this concept, but I'm hoping that they'll put on a water catchment off the roof and that could feed into the creek area also and come into the pond.
Yeah, the other option you could think about doing is more of an aquaponics setup. So with like above ground totes, or well, I've seen people do it with totes, which looks kind of janky if you want, if you really want to have a nice looking landscape. You can box them in. I've seen some beautiful like redwood work around those totes to hide the fact that they are just big plastic totes.
Okay.
But then you could have like above ground, kind of like an aquaponics system. And then you don't even have to worry about the liner and yeah, I mean they're like a raised pond.
Okay. Okay, that's an idea.
Yeah, so you can look into doing that. And the nice thing about that is then you're developing them as a growing system. So you can do things like watercress, celery, like things that demand a lot of water. And then you've got fish in them, so you've got like a nutrient-rich substrate.
That could be a really interesting learning for the kids too.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, they can come up and feed the fish, and the fish all learn to come up to the top, and it's a lot of fun. And you have less of a fall hazard.
Yeah.
How little are the kids?
I think they're old enough, because I wondered about that too, but there's other grandchildren too that might come over, and other neighbors. So maybe, because like I created a little water fountain in my backyard, and I did it waterless because I didn't want to worry about the kids playing, but it recycles it and they get to play with the water. It's just not a place to fall into. So no, that's a great idea. Thank you. That's why, I really appreciate these conversations. So
that's what we're here for. Let me see. Okay, yeah, cross section looks good. Mint deters raccoons. I did not know that.
Well, when I was looking up, because I had raccoons, I was trying to see what would attract the bats, deter the raccoons. and it did say mint, and I thought, well, I'll put that all around where we're moving the chickens, because they have had chickens get killed by the raccoons.
Yeah, it can't hurt. I don't know if there was a juicy chicken on the other side, if it would be enough, but it's an interesting. It might, especially as like a really thick, almost I'm thinking like a hedgerow, like along the fence.
Yeah, all along
Chicken.
the fence.
Yeah, yeah,
But
interesting.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I had other things, yeah. So, anyways, but you can. I think somebody else is on the line, so if they have questions.
Yeah, I saw Lewis come in. We've got half an hour too. Oh, I see. You've got a big overstory tree here, right?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, and I was going to ask whether a honey locust with thorns or without thorns. Do you have any preferences to?
From a food perspective, I don't have enough experience with the locust beans to be able to say. I would always go thornless if you can get it, because those thorns are wicked. I mean, that's the first thing I remember from the permaculture site in Jordan when I did my PDC in Jordan, was stepping on a honey, well, it was on a locust thorn.
Oh, gee.
And it went straight through the bottom of my shoe, and I like those words are not meant to be repeated. Like it was awful.
I put in a thornless, and I.
Okay. Yeah, I do, and I don't know anything about how, like from a productivity perspective, and I'm sure it's site dependent and water dependent and everything. But if you've got one in there, then I think you're good.
Okay.
So, okay, yeah, this all looks great, Linda. You're okay. Yes, I do have books to recommend. I'll make a list and share it to everyone to answer that question. That's a great question, though.
All right.
Okay, let's see. Lewis, do you have any questions, or are you here to?
No, I don't have any questions. I just wanted to chime in. I was like, oh, I think I can still chime in and listen.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so that's kind of my position in it.
Okay, how are things going for you?
It's going. It's busy. Life got like really busy all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
But such is life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the state's going to be coming out to the site on the 21st to look at I guess my program design and my I guess curriculum.
Great. Okay.
And so I'm sitting down, rewriting that, redoing that while I'm in Tennessee right now.
Oh, wow. Okay, you're a long ways from home then. Okay.
Yes.
And that's your curriculum for an adult learners with disabilities or seniors or?
With disabilities. It's a day program for them.
Sure.
And so, I mean, that's why I took the class.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, you're designing something for like 5 years and no one is there to even say anything. It's I should probably chime into something that's gardening or permaculture related.
Yeah, that's great.
And so that's where I'm at. And I was just watching. I already forgot her name. Yeah, just looking at the design that you were just going through right now.
Oh, Linda's
design.
Yeah.
I've been scratching my head a lot about putting a pond in and how to do that. And I actually went toward I'm going to do an aquaponic system instead.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm doing an aquaponic system is that with the people with disabilities, I can't have any standing water on site.
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's a 5-foot fence around it.
Right. Kind of limits the joyfulness of the water of like, oh, we can see the water from here.
Yes. Yeah. So in the greenhouse, I'll be putting right next to the hydroponic system, an aquaponic system.
Nice. Okay.
And so in that, I mean, from what you have seen, is that something that's even useful versus, I mean, like, do you have a preference between a hydroponic system and an aquaponic system?
Do I have a preference?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'm there. You're kind of cutting in and out. Yeah, I do. I definitely an aquaponics system. Definitely. I think the integration of fish into that system is really like what makes it work, like what makes it appealing, especially when you've got people coming on. Like if you're looking from a purely productivity standpoint,
No, I'm not
probably
actually. I would.
right.
I'm okay with having no product. I just want people to learn, and I mean, the product that I actually generate from the project, I'm just going to give it to my kids, and they're going to do a farmer's market with it.
That's right. So I mean, I think, and that was my understanding too, was like if you were looking for the productivity of like we're trying to make like a market, like a marketably productive farm here, then maybe hydroponics would be a go, at least to get started. But I think the real beauty in that system is having the integration of fish and plants and like an actual ecology that's functioning, because hydroponics is not an ecology. It's a system of, you add nutrients to the water, the plants take up, it's easy to manage. You can get that production, but it's when you've tied in the fish, you can teach about like nitrogen cycles, you can teach about like decomposition and that nutrient cycling. And you've got fish that people can come in and feed. And you've got, I mean, if you wanted to, you can do fish that you can eat, or fish that, eventually like age out into the, and you turn into like, you do fish fertilizer or something. Like, I think the real beauty in those systems is really in the integration of an animal species with it. So, I mean, I'm strongly biased because I have a very strong animal bias. I think there's no ecology that works without an animal in it somewhere, and not just like microbiota. But from my perspective, especially if you've got people coming into the site, I think aquaponics is the way to go for sure.
All right, beautiful.
Okay, there you go. You can tell them I said that.
Okay.
So, yeah, send the vegans my way because I will take them down. But
for sure. Okay.
This looks really nice. Yeah, I'm just going through your plant system design. Yeah, I think I love the hand-drawn image. I love hand-drawn images when they come in. It's really fun. It's just nice. It's nice to see that creativity. This looks great. I think.
Do you mind sharing it so I can see?
Oh, I'm sorry, Linda. I thought I was. Okay, no. I'm just like scanning through. Oh, this looks nice. This looks nice. Yeah. See my face with my strange.
I think that sounds really, really cool about having a place for. Now it's weird again.
Okay. I need to do. It's very weird. If I do the entire screen, it won't let me use my mic. But if I just do the browser tab, it'll allow it. So whatever. Okay, so let's scroll all the way back to the beginning. Here's the plant survey. Here's
that's what the.
Yep. Yeah, so there's your plant system design. So these are the horse pastures, correct?
Yes.
Horse pastures? Okay. Is there any desire to bring horses or like livestock back onto the property?
At the moment, I have like 30 chickens. That's going to go to 60. My neighbor is going to show me how to take care of some goats.
Okay.
And so they'll be bringing those over to see how that works. As far as horses, the girls want horses. And I mean, the barn is going up and it does have horse stalls. But I told them, I was just like, well, wait for your brother to get a little bit bigger and we'll see where we go with that.
Okay.
Right? But
because the thing that kind of, anyway, a couple of things that come to mind. If you've got any interest in therapy animals, miniature horses are actually a certifiable, like a support animal, not just emotional support, but they're like a seeing eye dog sort of level support animal.
Okay.
And can be trained as. The other thing is that because you've got horse facilities existing already, One of the things that I've really gotten into in the last few years is designing paddock track systems. So rather than these like rectangular stalls, which like if you put a large zoo animal in one of those rectangular stalls, you get shut down for animal cruelty. And yet we put horses in them all the time.
Yes,
So
there's an equestrian. There's a yeah. I mean, well,
okay, so
I'm sorry, Dad, but yeah,
no,
there's an
I keep interrupting you, so
Yes,
you go ahead.
there's
Go
an
ahead.
equestrian school right next to me that has like, I swear, like 100 horses, and they're like in 10 by 10 boxes, and I just couldn't do that.
It's very normal. It's bizarre. And feed them twice a day and put them in a tiny box. It's absolutely bizarre. So this is what led me into getting into these track paddock systems where you basically build a track around the property, and it varies on like the number and the size of the horses that you have, and a lot of people do it with like temporary fencing so that you can kind of work out a line. But like looking at, seeing what you've got already planted, you can do like these really cool designs where you've got like a loop here, maybe like a figure eight. So then you can actually get animals like moving around the property, rather than just being in these like little rectangles. So it's very customized and it's very customizable. But if that was ever something that was of interest, and you can look them up, you can look at paddock track systems. They were actually developed by a guy that used to live up in Lompoc. He's since moved to Arkansas, I think, just cost of living. But yeah, there's kind of a whole sector of like us trackies, kind of like groupies, we're trackies. There's other systems of horse management, like the Equicentral system is a really good one, and it's really compatible with permaculture, and that it's largely based in like soil health rebuilding, building like a diverse forage. However, it's really everything that I've seen about it would make it very challenging to do on a small dry land or like semi-arid property where like grass has such a long dormant season. So I need to go, like, I actually go through their course and like really dig into like how they make this work on like, say, like a Southern California property, because I just don't personally see it working. Whereas I see the track systems as being like at the very least, a much better alternative to the like the paddock system. Regular. So anyway, if you're ever interested in considering that, let me know, because I'd love to just like totally just jam out with you on it, and we can figure out some options. Now, in terms of goats, do you have an area that you're like, are you thinking of like moving them around, or are you kind of like setting them in a particular area and hay feeding them, or do you know?
Well, if we went the direction of goats, they would have access to the half acre where the raised beds are. To the far left, right?
Over here or in here?
Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Right? The other option, because I would bring them in when the people are there, and then escort them out to the other side of the creek.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And so that area right there, this area used to one time belong to UCSD. They used to do experiments with sheep and vaccines.
Sure. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Back in the, I don't know, I think it was the 60s or something. And so so all the sheep were actually down there. So I was just like, oh, I'll probably just put the goats down there or the horses down there, and they could just kind of like free roam most of the time. And one of the neighbors got mad at me when I said free roam, because they were like, "Oh, what are you gonna do about the coyotes? They're gonna get eaten by coyotes." And I was just like, "Well, I was like, don't get mad. I just haven't given it that much thought yet. I just didn't want them. I just didn't want them in a box.
Sure. Okay.
The entire time."
Yeah, the other thing is that what you'll find with free range, and this is true for any free ranging livestock, is they will start to cherry pick what's in your landscape. And so they'll be taking, especially like our native bunch grasses, they're really, really sweet when they start to come up. And so you get a lot more, just by natural selection, you get a lot more weedy, thorny species that are second choice or third choice, because the good stuff is getting eaten first. And so that's where you want to get into something like rotational grazing, or better is an adaptively managed grazing system where you're assessing your forage, you're moving it like based on like, okay, we want these plants grazed down, and then we're going to take it right off so that the, you know, the good plants, the ones we want, are able to recover. Well, those like Russian thistle, sow thistle, star thistle, I'm coming to mind, and all the thistles, geranium sometimes can get grazed down, and then you can let the bunch grasses and wildflower stuff come back up. Whereas if you don't allow that rest period in order for things to come back, they don't get a chance to come back.
I see.
If that makes sense. And then the other thing is that because you've got a riparian zone, you're going to want to manage that very carefully because it's a steep bank, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
On the west side, it's walkable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be doing a little bit of grading there to knock down the slope to about 25%. It's
Okay.
probably what, right? But even then, that's still pretty steep.
Are you allowed to do that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So there's what he says, once I get close to the creek, they would prefer I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Right. And I said, okay. And they said, anywhere else, you're fine. All right. And they said, Luis, you know, because I already got hit with a grading violation on the far east where it's kind of like where it's all orange. That's where I end up planting my rock fruit. And
Okay.
you know, if you go right there, yes.
Oh, here. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a grading violation where I brought in a bunch of fill. I brought in like 30 trucks.
What kind of fill?
So they were repairing the school. They were rebuilding the elementary school, and they had a lot of loam and sand. And
Oh,
was
okay.
just like
concrete, chunks of concrete or anything.
No chunks of concrete. Very clean.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, it's coming from the school. The kids playing it.
Sure.
I played in it when I was a kid. Yeah, I'll take that. And I was just gonna I was gonna leave it in a pile and then start, you know, mixing it.
Mm.
And you know, I think what alarmed them was the size of the pile.
Yeah.
And they were like, so I knocked it down, and then they were like, oh, you're grading now. And then they were like, okay. And I was just like, oh, come on, guys, you guys are killing me.
No, when you say they, was that city or
yes,
city,
the county?
Yeah. Okay.
And it was funny because I got the dirt. Basically, I got the dirt from the county.
Yeah. Okay. What is the name of that creek? Like, is that a named creek?
I know there's a name to it. I keep calling it the Bonita Creek, right? But it's part of the Sweetwater watershed.
Right. Okay. You may want to check in with your local like resource conservation district office. Probably start there because they could tell with like, you know, they could tell you if you need to talk to CDFW or like a CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act, just to make sure you don't get in trouble with those guys because you don't want to get in trouble with those guys.
Yeah. So it's really strange because the lot before me and after me plus my lot, that's owned by it's governed by Army Corps of Industry. Wait, Army. What is that? AMC or
Army Corps of Engineers?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then it's really funny because it's like that little piece is theirs, and then everything else belongs to the county of San Diego.
Oh, okay.
And so I've spoken to them and Fish and Wildlife, and they just say, hey, Luis, we know it's a dry creek. We know we screwed it up years ago when we made the dams.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, just don't build anything in it and don't fill it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. I was like, I might slap a bridge over it. And they're like, they said, oh, bridge? When you say bridge, Luis, you know, you have to say like pedestrian access or pedestrian, because once I make it vehicular, they said I need a permit.
Yeah, bridge means engineering.
Yeah. I was just like, okay, so a pedestrian access or whatever you want. And so they've walked me through it, and Yeah, in the end, I probably just drop a trailer right above it, and then just hammer it in the ground on one end. Pin it on one end, and I mean
Okay.
the only thing that's going over there is me walking over there,
Mhm.
possibly my tractor and the animals.
Sure. Okay.
All right, but it's so funny how quick they come down on you when you start playing around a creek.
Well, I mean, part of it is around like, I mean, wetland is so threatened, and especially in California, where I mean, we had so much of the state that was in ephemeral wetland and small ponds and stuff, and it's just gone. I mean, that was all of Central Valley. So the regulations are strict because of that. But yeah, it's like, oh, we've got a dry creek. There's never, because are you saying, is there water that runs through it in a very high water year, or is it every
Well,
year with
so
some
we
rain?
had a high water year.
Mm-hmm.
The highest it ever got was 2 feet.
Okay.
In some areas, it is 20 feet deep.
20 feet deep?
Yeah, if I put a ladder down in there and I climb in and out, but the water never has gotten over 2 feet. And so it incised. There was incising because people on
Yeah.
the other side, people down the way, they filled it up. They filled their creek bed up. And so basically it cut down on mine. So it kind of has to like fill up. I
Yeah, it's a
wouldn't say
massive.
fill up, and then to exit out. And
Right.
so my floodplain now has never been flooded in the past, 50 years.
Right.
Well, close to 60 actually, because it incised all the way down. And I tell them, I was like, let's fill it up so the water could flood that bottom pasture. And they're just like, oh, we can't do that. We would have. They said if it was the 70s, we would have done that. But he was like, today we just let the nature take its course because it rebalances itself. Was something they said.
Well, I mean, if you want to work with nature and let it rebalance, help it rebalance itself, you might look in like Quivira Coalition has a lot of resources on like small low tech erosion repair and control measures. If that's, I don't know if that's of interest. I'd have to like really see pictures or do a walkthrough. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe pull up your address after this and take a look.
Okay.
But
Well, what I end up doing, I end up planting that vetiver grass so that the creek wouldn't expand. So
yeah,
it's already like 35 feet wide, and I don't want it to be any wider. The neighbor next
yeah,
door is almost 60 feet wide. And I
yeah.
was just like, nope, I'm going to plant this grass. I'm going to choke it at 30,
No,
35 feet.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean even like little like small rock, like what they call one rock dams, where you're just putting down like one or two rocks. So it's never something that's going to like get knocked over and create a bigger erosion problem, but it just
Uh-huh.
starts to like collect some sediment behind it. And they
Yep.
do like media lunas are another, which is like kind of like a curtain. I mean, they call it a media luna because it's like a crescent moon shape of
Yes.
rocks that are basically embedded into the soil, so it holds that in place. So um,
I've done 2 of those.
okay,
And yeah, so I'm just kind of like slowly doing it,
nice.
just I mean anything I do like manually, they're like 100% for. But they don't,
Right.
they're like, hey, we don't want you bringing your tractor down there or your excavator.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I use my tractor to carry a rock, or I use my tractor to carry my tools, but I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not, I'm not using them to move
Yeah.
soil when I get close to them.
Yeah.
And so, I started planting vigorously on the hillside and on the other side because I was just like, wow, wouldn't it be something if I could catch all the water and put no water in the creek?
Yeah.
And the guy was like, he's like, are you serious? He was like, I'm like, well, yeah, right? Why not? I mean,
Hmm. Yeah,
I was
creek's
like,
not. Hmm.
I was just like, it's not going to hurt anything. I was just like, I got unlimited water from the well. I got almost infinite amount of time. I was like, if I plant, X amount of plants every year, I should be
Hmm.
able to accomplish that on the hillside easily. And I would
Almost
say,
unlimited time. I want some of that.
Yeah, you know, that's
Yeah.
the way I see it. You know, it's like my goal today is to put this many plants in the ground. You always have
Sure.
time to do that.
Yeah.
And so,
Okay.
yeah, I would say the project's coming along great. And I mean, you know, I've always have people over.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well,
but
that,
yeah,
I mean,
it seems like I have a bunch of projects though. I mean, I spent so much time talking about that, but that's kind of like my side project where
right.
I'll say the top 3.2 acres is for, you know, the project that I'm doing with the young adults.
Right. Okay. Wow. Well, it sounds exciting. That's great. I'm glad it's moving forward. Moving forward for you. So when do you know about when that'll be starting?
So that was so basically I'm licensed now. I could start
Okay.
today, right? The only difference is that the funding part. So
Yeah.
I should
Right.
I should get approved for state funding this year,
Okay.
and then that'll be that.
Cool. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Hi in the background. Okay, Linda, did you have any other questions? Or
No, just no, that's great. That I'll look into the aquaponics. I think that sounds like a good solution for what, and then that could still filter into the filter from the creek into it, I guess, and
Yeah.
then take it from there into the garden and have that be part of the learning experiment and experience. So
Yeah, and you can actually set up that aquaponics system as the rainwater catchment. So I mean, you want to set up so that there's an overflow and, like, you know, some filtration and stuff so that you don't have water. Like when it comes off the roof, you want to make sure it's filtered. You've got a first flush so that any junk on the roof isn't going into your system. But I mean, I know plenty of people that have just run their rainwater directly into the aquaponics system. And then there's an overflow in case, you know, there's too much rain, or that you can divert it, right?
yeah.
That's an option. So
Yeah, we set up this February. We put in 2 500-gallon tanks to capture water off of our roof.
oh
And
yeah,
I've been
okay.
using that for all my plants and my seedlings, and it's been really, really exciting to have
Mhm.
much water. Like I'm in Utah, we don't get very much rain, but it's been full this spring. Like
Yeah.
so I've had to use it and overflow. It's had some overflow, but yeah, so really exciting to do that ourselves. So
Yeah, that feeling of like stretching the season out is so rewarding.
yeah. But my husband did put a thing up that the first, is it 5 gallons or 10 gallons? First 5 gallons will flush down,
Right.
then it will kick over into the tank.
Yeah. Perfect.
So yeah, works out and really cool. Had a garden party at my house last Thursday and let people kind of explore the garden and see what they liked and what they noticed. And several of them were like, I want to know more about this water catchment thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. Great. Spread the word.
Anyways,
Cool.
okay.
Okay.
Well, get on.
All right. Well, it's nice to see you both. And yeah, I guess I'm working the rest of the day. So
Thanks for your
okay.
help.
Cool.
Okay.
Have a good week.
Okay, you
Thanks,
too.
Liz.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.